our distinguished guest, Director IIT Gandhinagar, Professor Dr. Sudhir Jain, will deliver his address for the slotted time of 10 minutes on industry partnering with academia to handle business disruption.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, delighted to be here today to share some thoughts with all of you. This is I'm told, first time an online event is happening, and that is underlining two key issues here. One issue is the crisis that the humankind is going through. But the second is the opportunity that this crisis has offered to all of us. My guess is that the reach of this conference has become much wider because of this crisis, because you now have to do it online. If you had done it physically, perhaps much fewer people would have been there. They might have developed perhaps better linkages with each other, shook hands with each other, perhaps had tea together and spent better quality time with each other. But the fact is that now you are able to reach out to much larger audience. So I think this is the way we look at IIT Gandhinagar. The crisis, we tell ourselves that there are two verticals we need to look at. One vertical is how to minimize the disruption. But the other vertical, which we are very serious about, is how to maximize the gain. How do we benefit out of this crisis? And there are so many things that have happened at IIT Gandhinagar. I would not go into things that we have done to minimize disruptions. But if I were to just list a few academic and non-academic things, for example, that we have been able to benefit from in this crisis time, I think this will be something of interest. For example, we academics are very particular about how we teach our students. And there would have been a lot of resistance for my faculty to agree that my students can learn from MOOCs courses, the courses available on the internet, and get credit for their graduation requirement. But because of the crisis, I could just push it through. And my faculty were very excited to not only accept it, but to actually participate in it. And 60% of my students actually availed of MOOCs courses. And we were just able to open this door, which we will never be able to shut now. Wherein students will learn not only from my professors, but also from the worldwide best possible resources that are available. We said to ourselves that if all my professors are teaching online, sitting from Gandhinagar, and the students are sitting all over the country, what is the problem in my students learning from a professor sitting in Europe or in the United States? And I therefore asked my Dean of Academic to enlarge his course offerings by bringing diverse professors, diverse teachers, diverse courses. And I challenged him to find 10 international faculty outside India to be teaching current semester. He gave me 16 faculty. Today, delighted that 16 courses are being run at IIT Gandhinagar, which are not being taught by my faculty, which are not being taught by colleagues in India, but colleagues outside. And again, this is a door that we have opened, which will not be shut in future. In fact, I'm told that the participation of the students in online courses much better now than it used to be in online classes. One of the colleagues came to me and she said, look, here is this wonderful student, and I found this student was missing in my online class, and I asked him, and he said, ma'am, I prefer to learn in the evenings. So since you are lecturing on Zoom and they're all recorded, rather than sit in the daytime when you are lecturing, I have been learning those in the evening, and in the mid-semester exam, that student actually topped the class. So what this professor told me is that, look, I find that my students are perhaps even more engaged today than they were in earlier times. The non-academic issues, for example, we are very passionate about involving with the society, involving with the community. We were able to scale up our engagement with the two neighboring villages. Because of this crisis, we were able to mobilize our internal community, reach out to the villages and say to the villages, who are your underprivileged people that we can help through relief materials and otherwise. So we have today much better relationships, much better connections with the villages. We were able to reach out to almost 1,000 construction workers at 6 different construction sites that we have. And we were able to again scale up their engagement with us. We were able to open our health center to the construction workers, which would have been a very difficult thing to imagine. A government institution's health center being open to workers of private contractors. And again, these are doors that we don't think can be shut back again. We were able to create enormous volunteer activity, enormous community activity, community building. Just to give a sense to you, the people realized that vegetables can be precious during the lockdown because there were no vegetables available easily. And we therefore challenged our community to create their own kitchen gardens. And we provided support to them in buying seeds and getting implants and guidance. And today 100 families are raising their vegetables inside the campus who were not raising vegetables before the pandemic. So these are the kind of opportunities that I think we see and everybody should see. As we are currently reading newspapers, watching television, there are three things on top of our minds. What are those three things? The health, the COVID, the vaccine, the treatment, the economy, and finally the security, the China border and the strategic issues. And these are the really three things. And to my mind, all three things will be solved only by industry and academia interactions. These will be solved together by industry and academia interactions. If today the United States is the big power in health, in economy, in security, it is because of its universities, because of its deep engagement with their universities, because of its enlightened way to deal with the universities. And I believe that India would have no future if it doesn't bring its industries, its government closer to the universities, and universities closer to the industries and the government. To us, this has been a very, very important agenda. We believe that no one owns IIT Gandhinagar, everyone owns IIT Gandhinagar. What that means is that we are very, very inclusive. Anybody can walk into IIT Gandhinagar and he's welcome to participate. She's welcome to participate in any manner that is comfortable to that person. Typically, when somebody in the industry, when somebody in the government, they look at the colleges, when they look at the universities, they typically look at the placements, they look at the internships. Sometimes they look at consulting. Sometimes they say, okay, here is a problem that we don't know how to solve. Let's go to the university professor who will solve it. And even in fewer cases, they will look at the sponsored projects. They will say, all right, here is a 1 crore rupee, here is a 50 lakh rupees. Can you do research on this particular topic that is of interest to us? I think we need to go well beyond that. That is not enough. That is very, very routine, very, very mundane. And to do that, I think the first thing that is very critical is to build better communication between the university, the industry, the government. And I will give you two examples of how we have been working on that. For example, when the Director General of Central Public Works Department came to visit us, we were able to persuade him to create a R&D cell of CPWD inside my campus. So today there is a R&D cell of CPWD inside, where CPWD officers are posted by CPWD just to work on research problems of interest to them. The idea is that they are their employees, they are working for their problems, but they're interacting with my faculty, they're interacting with my students and improving the communication between CPWD and IIT. We similarly had a deal with the Indian Army, where for 2 years an army colonel was positioned in IIT G'nagar until last week. In fact, this colonel just got transferred out after finishing his tenure. For 2 years, this colonel was positioned at IIT Gandhinagar only for building relationship between IIT Gandhinagar and Indian Army. And as a result of it, he would take my faculty, my students to Siachen glaciers. He would take them to Arunachal Pradesh borders, and he would show them what the problems that Indian Army is facing and how could those problems be perhaps taken up by our students. So what I'm really trying to argue here in this brief conversation with all of you is that we need to think creatively. We cannot be subservient to dogma and only look at how everybody else has looked at industry academia interactions. But we need to think creatively. And to my mind, for example, we should think about very small engagements to very large engagements. Somebody may be very interested in small things, somebody may be interested in bigger things, and we should have a very, very flexible menu whenever you are dealing with any institution, and IIT G'nagar is not an exception. I suppose whatever I speak today will be valid for most universities. For example, the way I imagine is that why can't somebody say, here is a little small problem. Can a BTech student or two BTech students of IIT Gandhinagar take that problem up, and we will jointly guide. One professor from IIT Gandhinagar, one person from the industry will jointly guide. If any intellectual property will come, it will come to the industry. But if it fails, we will let it pass, because after all, these were only students, and it is all right to fail. And there is not much risk. Same thing could be done for the MTech thesis. Same thing could be done for a PhD thesis. And this could be jointly supervised. This could be something really very good, because our students work 16 hours. Unlike the industry where there is a time card, where there is a biometric system of when you come to the company, when you leave the company, our students sleep in the laboratories and they put in the best possible efforts. We could have induction training for the industry done inside the institution. We have fantastic guest house, we have fantastic classrooms, we have fantastic playgrounds. We will soon commission swimming pools, indoor facilities. You can imagine doing an induction training in a 5-star hotel versus doing it in a 400-acre campus, where there is an outdoor, where there is an indoor, and where there is an intellectual environment of the highest kind, where they are meeting the professors who have done fantastic work, where they're talking to students who are very, very energetic. We could do those kind of things. We could have industry people teach short courses. You cannot teach perhaps a full semester course, but how about you saying, hey, I'm very much interested in reading balance sheets. I'm just thinking very ridiculous examples. Okay, it can be anything. You can say, I'm going to teach how to read a balance sheet. I will teach how to make investments. I will teach how to do this or that for 10 hours. And you could be teaching a 10-hour module, a 10-hour capsule, and you can design it for us. You can say, this is the topic I'm passionate about, and this is what in fact, we recently had 2 of our students teach rest of the students how to do stock market. We were very surprised that 2 of our students were enjoying stock market investments, very small investments, and they had learned the tricks of the trade. And they said, can we teach to interested students? And we said, yes, please do it. So things like that. We could do short courses. We could do training programs. You need your people to learn a certain thing for which I have the faculty. In that case, we can request that faculty member to teach. You could use our libraries. You could use our laboratories. You could use our very, very expensive equipment. In fact, you could engage our students part-time basis for solving small problems. We can give an example of a major project we did for Shah Bhogilal. It's a fire safety company in Ahmedabad, wherein the government of India put in 3 crore rupees and Shah Bhogilal put 1 crore rupees. And in 4 crore rupees, my faculty developed a product that used to be imported in India. And we gave it to Shah Bhogilal, and they are now commissioning that. They are now installing the machinery to mass manufacture those products, things like that. We could do technology development. We created a major fire research station, the only one of its kind in India, wherein the underwriters laboratory put in all the money. They in fact hired the contract. We could have visiting engagements. We could have faculty members spending 1 month of summer time in the company. We could have company executives coming and spending 2 weeks or 4 weeks inside the institute. Finally, I would say we are right now about to commission a 2 lakh square foot research park. Our idea was that companies could sit inside the campus, avail the intellectual powerhouse that exists here in terms of bright faculty, students, laboratories, library, and their R&D people can work inside the campus for their own projects, their own employees, and become 10 times more productive than they would be if they were sitting in their own locations. So we are about to commission a 2 lakh square foot building, which will be ready in a short time. But in the meantime, we said we must gain experience in running that research park. We created a Section 8 company for it. We started to enroll companies. We were able to get Gujarat Urja Vikas Nigam to create its R&D cell with about, I think, 13 or 14 people, full-time position for last almost 3 years now. NESCOM set up their cell here at IIT Gandhinagar, and we are happy to engage small companies. We have micro, small, medium, large. Everybody is welcome here. We will give space as small as 200 square foot, to as large as 20,000 square foot. So we are really open to business in terms of whatever the scale, the size, the aspirations that the companies have. We are open to CSR projects. Tata Motors has been putting in significant amount of money at IIT-G'nagar to pay scholarships and loans to really poor students coming from very financially weak backgrounds. Essentially, what we are looking for is very deep partnerships. We are really looking for engaging with the companies. We are open to all possibilities, and I think the only thing that we promise, which is very unique about us, is the ease of transaction, the ease of business. We will make it hassle-free. I have a very senior colleague, Mr. Nirmal Jha. Many of you on this conference have met him. He's a very senior industry veteran, and he's working full-time with us only to build industry partnerships. So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for giving this opportunity for me to share some of my thoughts. Thank you.